Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 3 of that Milan podcast. I'm Martino Puccio, alongside me, Matt Santangelo. We'll get to our special guest in a second, but we just wanted to say thank you guys so much for following, subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, which we have both platforms for the podcast right now, as well as YouTube. Obviously, you guys see that all the time. We do upload the full video of the podcast as well. You probably noticed that if you do follow on Spotify. I don't believe Apple has that, but either way, subscribe on there, give us 5 stars, subscribe to the podcast, like, comment, and all that. But before Santangelo, I say hello to you, we just want to welcome our special guest, Rocco Baldassare. Rocco and I have talked plenty of times. I've been on his podcast once. He is now a U.S. Resident, so chilling in Florida. Still nice weather for him this time of year. So, Rocco, how are you, my man?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. Everything is good here. I'm excited. In 2 days we play again, so I'm looking forward to a good Milan.
Yeah, which we'll kind of get into because yesterday, before we get into those games, 2 days ago now at this point, we kicked off the youth league as well, and this was the number one thing that we saw. Santangelo, I know you didn't get a chance to watch the full thing, but UEFA streams these youth league matches for the Champions League. And my goodness, Camarda is, and there's always these opinions and, past history of guys like Mastor being brought up, but this is different. Contextually, it's completely different. He's a striker. Mastor was kind of more looked at as like a 10. Never produced like this. Never produced. There was a question marks of Camarda going against kids that were around his age group, and he was destroying them. We saw all those numbers that were reminiscent of Mukuku with Dortmund, but we kind of saw a glimpse of him playing against older players on the international stage, Matt, and he was showing up and he was scoring and he was doing well. This was first a real test. He scored against Sassuolo in his Primavera debut, but a brace, winning 2 penalties against Newcastle. I mean, this is serious because, again, these are U19 kids. At the very worst, there's only a couple of kids a couple of years older than him. It's truly insane what he's able to do for someone who hasn't even fully finished puberty at this point. So, Matt, your initial thoughts on him and what this match was, and then Rocco, kind of what you've been hearing and your opinion of him.
Yeah, no, it's exciting, right, to see someone making those strides forward. That's one of our own academy players, and I think, look, we get so caught up in spending on the type of quality that we need with the first team. We obviously had a lot of players come in this past summer. We're seeing some of them make some strides forward already, but I don't want to lose sight of being able to usher along the academy players and get them into the first team. I think we did one of the better jobs in Italy over the past handful of years when we were able to have guys like Locatelli, Gigio Donnarumma, obviously Calabria, just to name the main guys. But we want to get some sort of semblance of our academy into this first team, so we still have that sort of like red and black Milan identity, in addition to the players that are of good quality, right? So how awesome would it be for us to have a forward that comes to our system and is a prolific player for us, and then eventually makes that stride forward towards the national team. So not getting too ahead of myself, right? Because I think forwards are one of those positions where, they can dominate at a very young age, pile up goals. And I know he's doing it against players that are 3-4 years older than him in most cases. But I always try to, temper my expectations with that, knowing that when he does play against, that heightened competition, how does he deal with adversity of when he is closed down, when he doesn't get the space, when defenses lock him up and he doesn't get goals, and, scoring can be contagious, right? And he's doing it at a blistering rate. I've seen the numbers posted by, Scout 7 Calcio. I know Martino usually share a lot of his content. He posts a lot of the Primavera stuff. So we know he's scoring, but it's just ultimately trying to get him into a position where we're not putting too much pressure on him, and we can usher him along, ease him into the first team, and maybe we have a real prolific striker that comes to our system. That would be an added bonus because we know what the market is for strikers, and it's only going up.
And Rocco, I mean, physically, he's really impressive already. He's a pretty quick player, but I think more than most things that I've noticed is his intelligence. Those 2 penalties that he won during this match, just the spatial awareness of where to put his foot and try to win that ball, especially on the first penalty. To just kind of adjust to that level already, like there's a lot of fundamental things that you need to adjust to physically. There's could always be issues when you're facing players that are a couple of years older than you at that age. What have you seen or even heard back in Italy kind of about this and what they're saying? Because we know you're kind of connected out there and talk with a lot of people. We kind of mentioned that when the whole Maldini saga went down. But your initial impressions and then what you hear.
So there is a feeling that this guy is a generational talent, right? Like there is no way to say that when somebody does so much at such a young age, right? Now, this is also part of, I feel, where the whole management of AC Milan is going with the development of young talents. They renewed his contract for 3 years. Most likely, he's going to renew next year for another 3 years, I think, until you are.
Yeah, because just really quick on that. March 10th is his birthday. I only know this because my birthday is the 11th, so it's just funny to see. Same birthday as CDK, by the way. But yeah, I believe before you turn 18, the longest contract you could sign in Italy is
3
just
years.
3 years.
So. That is correct. That's why they do the 3 years at a time. Now, the biggest challenge for Camarda is not going to be making sure that he develops into a good player. You can already see he's going to be an exceptional player, but it's going to be how he's going to be managed until he's ready to go into the first team. And manage-wise, I don't worry about teams buying him and stuff because this management is pretty solid when it comes to retaining talent. It's about not making mistakes such as the one we made with Paddock, where we developed his physique so much that he started breaking all the time, right? So that's my main concern, that I hope they have an infrastructure in place where this guy can develop at his own pace. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, he might play his first game for Milan.
I keep saying this, but yeah,
I mean, Barcelona, they do that all the time, right? Yesterday, a guy named Tal scored 4-2 with Bayern Munich. Is 19.
Yeah, Matthias Tell is insane. Yeah, crazy player. Yeah.
And in Italy, we get shocked when we have a player that does well. In Europe, that happens all the time, right? Yeah. That's exactly. A funny part. But I think the guy's gonna do well. We need to hope that there is not gonna be any sort of extra soccer event that limits him,
Yeah. And to that point, by the way, actually, which I almost forgot about this, and this was widely reported out in Italy, and I'll pull up Vitiello's tweet about this. This is about hiring Roma's youth sector manager and youth director. As we know, we sacked our youth director. The name is escaping me at this time, but you see these moves, there's one move and then there's preceding moves. So as we know, Roma promote a lot of their youth players, and they got debuts and opportunities with the club ever since Mourinho joined, especially. You hope it's kind of on that path. I kind of see like we get Traore up as well, but he's starting still in these youth games. It's kind of like he was good enough to debut for Parma, but now he's still at the Primavera level. He didn't quite look physically up to par as well on the preseason tour. So it's just a little difficult to kind of see, Milan and how they're going to approach this. But I guess we're going to have to find out with that hire, because I think that is kind of the direction that you're talking about, Rocco, where Milan need to promote that, because we've had a history recently of pretty good national team players that have debuted out of us in the mid 2010s. I mean, Calabria came up. I mean, even he was out of position at the time. He was a teenager. Donnarumma, we were happy when Mihailovic debuted him as well. And Cristante was even 16 when he came up and debuted. And I know you kind of have to go back a few years for some of these guys, but that philosophy is changing, because a lot of the moves a lot of people don't talk about too is the Primavera, like Stalma. Simic was just another one as well. Colin Hefferman left after he joined Milan. I think he's in the Newcastle Academy now. But moving to that, the Champions League performance. Go ahead, Rocco. Yeah.
Something to really stress here, though, is that Abate is doing an incredible work. Last year, we didn't do very well in the league, but that's because we are playing voluntarily with a younger team. In Europe, you need to have under 19, I believe, and in Italy is under 21. And we are playing with a younger team in the championship as well. This year, we won all the games. We are doing well in Europe one more time. And Abate is showing to be a coach that can work with young players. Like, that's incredible, considering that when he arrived at Milan, everybody was not happy with that. But he's showing to be a good coach so far.
Yeah,
I
I
will
think.
say this
Go.
too, real quick, and it gives me like flashbacks to like the mid 2010s. But would the possibility be there for, let's say, Pioli was struggling and he wasn't the guy anymore, and management wanted to pull the plug? Would there be any semblance of possibility where it's, hey, Abate is the guy? I think it would be premature, personally.
Yeah.
But I just know that, you're not having to go outside of Milan to get your guy. You don't have to spend big on a player, on a coach, excuse me. And they've shown that they would be willing to maybe do that. I mean, I know it's different management, but what do you think about that? Do you think Abate has any future to potentially be a Milan coach, or at least a candidate, should Pioli be axed at any point?
This is a tough question for one reason. Abate is 36 right now, so it's very, very young. But I don't know if you guys want to get into that now, but I think that the problem with Pioli right now has nothing to do with his tactics or strategies or way of preparing games. He's actually a great coach. Pioli has one weakness that, unfortunately, I'm not saying that because I think that. I'm just looking at what happened in the last 4 years with Pioli. Pioli is not good from a mental standpoint. He's not good at motivating the team. He's not good at keeping them focused when something goes bad. The loss against Inter has not come because we didn't prepare the game well. It has come because the players are not there mentally. The mistake that Chao made after 4 minutes, it's a mistake that Chao never makes. He literally dropped dead. He could have put the ball on the, out of the pitch, and that was it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The overall, the fact that Pioli said for the first 4 minutes we played well, that comes from the fact they're scared to get goal in the first 15 minutes against Inter. So mentally, if they would have resisted those 20 minutes, the game would have taken a different turn.
Was it 7 straight matches in the derby they scored first, I believe? Something like that. It's like around that. They keep scoring first, but yeah.
But then there was a reaction in that game, and then Thuram makes a goal he will never make in the next 10 years. So the players feel in their head they are inferior to Inter, but it's not the case. So I do feel that Milan needs a coach that is great from a tactical standpoint, which Pioli probably is, because except with Inter, he plays good matches usually. And then somebody that has the mindset of Conte, but Conte doesn't have the tactical side. So finding that in a coach, it comes with experience. And with experience, it means you're looking at a $5 to $6 million a year coach to get that level of training, I feel. So Abade, I don't know if personally has developed both of those elements.
Yeah. I think, if anything, the comments prior to the derby worried me just a little bit, because just the way he approached it was saying, oh, I don't care what happened in the past derbies. We have to move on to the next one. And I get that premise in general, but I just rather just be like, good. I'd rather that be burnt in my head about what happened the past 4 times. So I'm sharp and on it, because the same mistakes happen. Almost every single time Inter score early, or there's mental errors, right? Like, it was a 1-0 loss. We're losing off of set pieces. It's penalty kicks being given away. It's not watching trailers. I mean, how many times, even in the first game that Milan won last year in the derby, the Brozovic goal, like, nobody's marking him. Yeah. He was just running free and behind everybody in the channels. It was just kind of like they just look like they fall flat on their face, and that's probably the most frustrating part. But they bounced back in this performance against Newcastle, in the sense of they played well. But the finishing is just the frustrating part again. And I mean, how many times do we have to say this? I think it kind of reminded me of the Spal match with the reboot in 2020, where they had 20-something shots on target. I forget, was it? What player scored that crazy goal with Spal? Was it Lockery?
I don't remember who scored theirs. I remember the one that I think it was Flockery, probably. Yeah,
right.
I think it was.
Was that him? He scored like a banger from like midfield. Donnarumma was caught out. But stuff like that. It's the fantastic job of really just creating so many opportunities that we saw with this. The highlight of it that everyone commented on was Rafael Leao, Matt.
I mean, I think that that's wrong, plain wrong, for a couple of reasons. First of all, like it's very comfortable to watch something in a slow motion. I want to see them running and
Yeah.
dribbling with Giroud
Yeah.
jumping in front of you, you know? And honestly, it was very, after Giroud jumped in front of him, it was very hard to shoot. Maybe should have passed to Chukwueze, but
Mhm.
while you're running, you cannot see everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody would be messy, you know? Uh,
Exactly.
so I feel that being too harsh on him, because that's something that can happen. What, yes, people should complain about is maybe that we didn't in 20 minutes where we were shooting from everywhere. All the shots were on the goalie, right? But that one, they're being too harsh. Also because the second later, Pobega shot and the guy saved it on the line.
Mhm.
It was like, it's too harsh, man. Like Liao played well. Yes, sometimes like he gets lost in the match, but maybe people have a short memory. When Shevchenko was at the AC Milan, Shevchenko for some matches he would completely disappear from the pitch. Then all of a sudden, minutes 80,
Yeah.
a ball goes there and he scores. Every player has their characteristics, and I feel that we are being too harsh on Liao. Like we were plain unlucky with Newcastle not to score.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this. Listen, I don't think the majority of the fan base is, criticizing him harshly. I think you can point out the fact that a player that gets paid like he does, a player that we've seen produce at a high level and at a world class level, and he's done it in the Champions League. We saw what he did against Napoli last year. Like
Yeah.
this guy's had moments of being like head and shoulders the best player for Milan and the best player on the pitch in a Champions League night. So like we know what he's capable of. So I think it's more of like the frustration that like that's a goal you expect him to score and you expect him to do it and be the clinical player and be the guy that says, okay, I'm going to be the guy that gets us this victory. So I think from that standpoint, yeah, like that's where the frustration lies. But this guy saved us so many times. And I think like that's kind of where
It's
it brings me
just
back to that point where I'm like,
yeah.
this guy does so much. And I think you could point to the 20 other shots we had. And I think I looked at the Foot Mob stats yesterday. It was something like about 26 shots to like 6 for Newcastle.
Yeah.
Expected goals is 1.9 to 0.28. Four big chances missed. So like we were heading the ball to Nick Pope the whole match. And I was like, okay, if we get one goal, the layout situation doesn't even mean anything. It's irrelevant.
But
And
We played
and I was gonna say, and remind me of who scored the past 2 goals for Milan, by the way.
of course. But Martino, let me ask you a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Liao. Liao is not a poacher. Liao
Never know. It's his worst trait as a forward, is his finishing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a winger, and we are expecting Liao to be like Lautaro. Lautaro is always gonna finish more goal than Liao because he's a true poacher, the guy.
Yeah.
So we need Liao to be the one that we are expecting to solve matches. We are just forgetting that he's the best at giving the last pass, maybe for somebody to finish the match. So
3 assists when we won the Scudetto on the final day. Like, I don't know why people, and this is why I was banging on my desk about Taremi, because this is the person that we needed. And funny enough, he scores the other day while we end up being not able to break anything. And we're playing a guy who's 36 who clearly got injured or received a knock during the international break in Giroud. I love him. I think he's really good, Giroud on his day, but you just can't keep doing this. And this is where it hurts you now because, you drop points in Serie A, which is obviously very important, but then you have to carry him over and have to start again. So that's the kind of concern there. And I think another concern was Magnan. 0 shots saved. Somehow he's hurt and missing 2 matches. Thank God the MRI came back clean. But you hold your breath almost every single time with this guy. It's really frustrating because I think, in my opinion, I don't know what you guys think, but this is the best goalkeeper I've seen play for Milan. Talent-wise, I think on his day, I don't think I've seen us have a better keeper. And it's just frustrating. We could survive these 2. Sportiello came in, he did his thing. I think they could handle Verona and Cagliari with this, but I think the overarching thing with him right now is you worry because it just comes across as fragile when you don't really have to do much in a game and somehow you're injured. That it's just frustrating. I'm not saying I don't want him sold. I know like some people kind of saw me say that, but in the sense of like, if he wants record breaking money, if there's a fee that could be had that is a record breaking fee and he continues to show that he can't be as healthy as he could be, you have to make some difficult decisions. But just his overall injury, real quick, your thoughts, guys?
Maybe just wanted 2 clean sheets, and that's the only way to get them. When I fake an injury, when I get 2 clean sheets and go on with my life. No, but I think, guys, like Magnan, there is something that I feel needs to be analyzed better, which I don't have the answer to, just my guess. But every time we send somebody to the French national team, they come back injured. So I'm wondering if they just don't do a good job looking at numbers and data and figuring out this guy is going to get injured if we train him this way. Because, guys, the body adapts to a specific training.
Yeah.
And the moment you change that training, something could happen to your body.
Yeah,
And
but then he got re-hurt with us. That's the only thing last year. It was like he was supposed to be healthy at a certain point, and then he just re-injured it, and it got worse.
He injured the leg
His
with
calf.
the national
His
team.
calf.
And then that got worse. But they tried to make him recover. The original injury was with the French team.
No. I know the original injury, but I'm saying like we couldn't even get him healthy.
Yeah, no. But
so how good are we at that point?
I feel that they need to look into that, because it's a different muscle this time. It's nothing serious. The guy is clearly frustrated because he was on the ground and he was like grumbling something.
Yeah, he did this.
Yeah, it was.
He knew he was done. It was frustrating. Hopefully that gets fixed. But Verona preview, because we don't have too much time, guys. So this is the projected lineup. We talk about rotation and what Pioli needs to do with this. So there's been rumors that Okafor was going to be tapped to start. This is from Sky Sport, by the way. So Okafor up top, same 2 wingers that we've had start in our Serie A matches in Pulisic and Leao. Reinders back in the starting lineup. Krunic again playing almost every single match possible. Him, Teo Hernandez, Calabria, basically. Musa had a great appearance, guys, I thought, against Newcastle, and really showed a lot for a guy who just came off the bench. He was really making a significant impact there. I think this is a well-deserved start here. Thank God Loftus-Cheek, it's just cramps for him. So he will take over his spot. The chemistry is there with Pulisic. I really like this idea by Pioli. Again, Kier going to get that start. This will be a second start. He obviously was in the derby as well. You can't really play Kalulu right now, apparently. I think Chow needed a much-needed break. He's playing a lot of matches in his first full season at the top flight level like this. Calabria starting. I mean, I get it. Florenzi came in. I thought he looked pretty good. But your guys' overall thoughts, Santangelo, start with you.
Yeah, this lineup's fine. I mean, I think the reason why Milan went out there and sacrificed Sandro Tonali was to build this team up in a way that allows them to play players off the bench to do the job for rotation. If you can't put in a guy like, I don't know, just to throw a name out there, but if you can't put in Noah Okafor in a match like this and you have to run Giroud out there again, like when are you going to play a guy like Noah Okafor? Like you have options for a reason. I don't have a problem rotating in the players like this. This squad on paper is more than enough to beat a team like Verona. No disrespect to them, but
at
this
home,
is a match you have to win, given the bludgeoning that Inter gave us, and then not being able to beat Newcastle. The attack is fun. I'm interested to see the interchangeability with Okafor, Leao, and Pulisic throughout a match. Do they switch flanks? Is Okafor going out wide, tucking in? Is that happening with Pulisic? So I think there's a lot of versatility to be displayed by those front 3. So I'm really keen to see what they can do together, because we haven't seen really much of them at all, if at all. And the midfield, I do like with Reinders. I do like getting Musa his first full start. I think he played really well when he came off the bench against Newcastle. I still think he's probably not quite there to give you the full match yet, but I think he has that engine. He has that work rate that once he is acclimated and fully ready to go, you can put him out there and he'll do a job. I'm really excited to see what he can produce for us. It's always going to be the defense though, guys, right? Like we're taking out Magnan, we're putting in Sportiello, who we all would agree is an upgrade on the backup we had last year for better parts of the season, and Tatu Rusanu. But defensively, I do think that these 2 players are more complementary than obviously Malik Chow and Simon Kjaer, which was the duo that played against Inter. So I feel more confident in that sense. But Calabria is just still a weird player for me. I know that we've done a job hiding him and putting him in that inverted role where we're able to kind of shift things around and maybe disguise some of his deficiencies as a player, which I think is a good job by Pioli. but I think ultimately we have to be a little bit more tidy defensively. I think this is a match. I'll go as far as saying this is a match Milan has to get a clean sheet in. Like they need to put their foot down, like win this game 2-0, 3-0, and put in a really strong defensive performance. Given the fact that you just gave up 5 to your rivals, like you have to come out with something in this game.
Yeah. Rocco, your quick thoughts on that. Krunic. This is why I want to get at. I think he's done well in the position he's been called upon. We know the situation with Benacer. If not now, when for Adli? Because this is reportedly Pioli wanted him to stay, and he said he found a role for him as this backup regista for the time being. So
yeah. It is a tough question, man, because Adli, when you look at his statistics in France, his biggest weakness is the proneness to error. And that's a position where you cannot make mistakes. That becomes a little bit tricky, right? Now, do I hope that for once they don't let us suffer for 90 minutes and then we close the match early on and he can play some minutes? Yes. Do I hope Krunic can rest? Yes, he needs to rest because God forbid he gets an injury. We are in big trouble. So I think Pioli knows that. It is likely that if the match doesn't go as smoothly as we hope, that Pobega might give him some minutes to let him rest. But I do hope for a good result where Adli can put in minutes. I feel that once Adli starts playing with regular time, he can be a great asset because we have 2 wingers that are great. He got great feet. And the guy seems to be a Milanisti, man. It's like, I've never seen a player so committed without playing a minute in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear a lot of stuff about how he is in training. He's got that bright personality. They always say he's the funniest guy. There was a Pulisic on the preseason tour was mentioning about how Adli's the funniest guy, and he just got there. So just to kind of make that sort of impression so soon was interesting. I think again, just quick with Okafor, this is the perfect opportunity. I thought he played great against Roma. You can't take away too much from that derby. Again, I just want to see how we do with someone from minute 1 that is capable of pressing and running in behind the defense. I think that's the true threat there. And then we see Leao show that sort of, creativity in there.
I would have preferred, to be honest, Jovic.
Okay.
But today in the press conference, said he's not ready to play a full match.
Didn't Serbian outlets say that this was the best shape of his life? So now
no, he said
or tactically.
I'm not 100% ready physically to play because he didn't train very well with Fiorentina this summer. So he bluntly said that. So that's why I think he's playing Okafor. But Okafor should replace Leao. Shouldn't be our main striker.
Yeah, of course. And it's a left wing. And you wonder when a substitution is made, does Pulisic switch over to the left side? Is Chukwueze go onto that right wing position? And I mean, whoever Giroud comes in later. Yeah.
I feel if the match doesn't go well, Pulisic is going to play as a false 9 and they're going to play Chukwueze on the right. I think that's probably first solution. And then Jovic might sub later on Pulisic. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
What did we? Oh yeah, go Matt. I was going to say.
Yeah, no, I think this was something I tweeted as soon as we were, pulling off the double coup of Okafor and Chukwueze in the summer. It was now how does Pioli work with these assets, these attacking players, right? Like Martino discussed it too. He always had the decision of Messias and Salamakers, and it's really at that point, no disrespect to them, but who's the 2 of the lesser evils. It's at that point, it's you're really splitting hairs as to what you're getting from those 2 players. But now you have players that in Chukwueze and Pulisic who are quality, they're starting quality. They could start from Milan, no doubt about it. So how you juggle their game time. I like what Chukwueze did in the Champions League game, but I do understand him going back to Pulisic. I think Pulisic has proven or shown so far in the first 2 to 3 matches in the league when we were flying high that Pulisic is comfortable. He's adapting to the league so far, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how he Pioli juggles game time with Okafor, Pulisic, and Chukwueze, knowing that there is some versatility there. This is attacking talent that Pioli hasn't really had in a long time, so it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, again, the fixtures are this weekend, Verona, 9 a.m. The midweek, Cagliari, then Lazio. Mike Maignan should be back for the Lazio match, and then we get back into the Champions League action. So these are huge Serie A matches. And again, we talk about the difficulty of Milan's schedule within the first 10 matches. Still have to play Napoli, Juve, Lazio still. So again, these are must-win points here. We haven't lost to Verona since 2017, I believe, is the statistic that Torgru threw out. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I think Milan are actually going to play well in this one. They get a couple goals, and I think they win this comfortably. They're not an easy attack to deal with. Newcastle, some people forget, that's one of the better defenses or more organized teams in the entire world. So to kind of break them down and score on them is no easy feat. So I know Verona's been playing well. I think Milan are going to be able to adjust. Real quick, I guess we'll just get our predictions in here. Rocco, you could go first.
Prediction, I would say 3-0.
Oh, that's good. That's mine. Santangelo?
I'm going 2-0. I'm going. I'll give you the bonus goal scorers. I'm actually going to go Rafa, and I'm going to go Noah Okafor.
Rafa and Noah Okafor. Yeah, I have 3-0. I think Teo gets on the score sheet. Reinders does as well, and Rafa.
Yeah, to tell you who scores, I need to check who I have against in fantasy soccer, so I make sure that I don't fall down.
I haven't set a lineup just yet, dude. I don't even keep track of that. Fantasy American football is enough for me, man. A couple of days a week.
Oh, we did the 9 hours live not too long ago to do our prayer purchase.
I'm not making any comments. That's what they want. Rocco, I appreciate it. So just plug everything really quick if you want for yourself. I had your Twitter at the bottom here. Rocco Zebra ADV.
What I can tell everybody is to follow Martino, guys. He's doing great content. So keep following him. And more importantly, don't fight over AC Milan. We all want the same thing.
Yeah. Santangelo doing a lot of great work fantasy-wise that Rocco just mentioned as well. So kind of plug that stuff on top of AC Milan Bros.
Yeah, I'll follow me on Twitter at Matt_Santangelo. I have an article coming out of the next day or so for Football Italia on AC Milan, of course. And yeah, I'm doing some semi-weekly Serie A fantasy content. If you look at my article from last week, I actually suggested putting in Brian Cristante, and he had 1 goal and 2 assists. So if you read that article and you put Cristante in there, you reap the benefits. But everything I'm working on is on Twitter.
You did say that.
Thank you.
Did you also suggest to play Magnan by any chance?
No. I suggested to play Lautaro, and in a match where Inter scores 5 goals and he doesn't get a goal is pretty shocking.
He only got the assist, I believe. Yeah. Which was just, again, whatever. We said quick thoughts on it. We got him. Yeah, again, just follow me at Martino Puccio pretty much everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, obviously on this channel. Like, subscribe, comment. Please just keep liking the video. Watch as long as you possibly can. We enjoy it. Gonna try and do a watch along soon enough. I stand up too much and move around when I watch the game, so I'm not really the best person to sit down. Like, I have to stand up. It doesn't matter. But yeah, we appreciate it, Rocco. You're a fantastic guest. Santangelo, great as always. We missed the beard already. That's probably why we lost the derby. But other than that, Apple, Spotify, don't forget to follow, give us 5 stars, and we'll talk to you guys next time.